A waitress mistakenly spilled some water on them. Immediately, the men flared up and leashed out on the waitress. All efforts to calm him down proved futile. The waitress pleaded with him, but he wouldn't take it. He was so angry. Once upon a time in Q City, there lived a wealthy man named Chief Okoro. He was a wealthy businessman who spent most of his life building his empire after he lost his wife. He has twin sons, Damien and Darian, from his beloved wife who passed on during labor, leaving him all alone with the boys. He raised both sons all by himself and buried his focus on work, which made him distant. He couldn't properly take care of the boys and give them the training they needed. Chief realized Damien's behavior wasn't the best and decided to talk him out of his actions. Damien still remained the same. Darian, on the other hand, was reserved and very sensitive. He cares about people and always wants to be there for them. One afternoon, as Chief and his children went out for lunch, a waitress mistakenly spilled some water on them. Immediately, Damien flared up and leashed out on the waitress. All efforts to calm him down proved futile. The waitress pleaded with him, but he wouldn't take it. He was so angry. On another day, he gave an assignment to a subordinate to work on. And when the staff came with the document, he yelled, throwing all the documents at him without even looking at them. His reason was that the task has passed the deadline. He was always mean to anyone who seemed to be beneath his level. And his father always complained, but he wouldn't even take it. He treated people anyhow. When it was time for Mr. Okoro to share his property amongst his children, he knew he wanted to will his properties to Darian, not because he loved him more, but because he was convinced it would be in good hands, and Darian would have enough to take care of himself in his absence. He worried about how to divide his wealth between them, wondering and thinking hard and wide on what to do. Then, fortunately, one evening, while lying on his bed, he got an idea. He decided to put their loyalty to a test. So the next morning, he called both of them to the sitting room where he sat and said, "I'll be traveling tomorrow, which is Friday, and I'll return on Monday." He placed 2 golden bowls with cover on each in the middle of the center table, each with their names inscribed on it. He told them, "Each of these bowls have your names on it, but don't touch them until I return." The boys nodded in agreement with their father. The next morning, Chief Okoro picked his bag and left the house, with the boys waving at him. On that day, they were firm. They resisted the temptation of knowing what was in the bowl. In the evening, they could hear wild noises coming from the bowl, which further increased their anxiousness. They were still firm. The second day was harder than the previous, but they remained obedient, hoping their father would return soon. On the third day, Damien's desire for wealth overcame him. He opened the bowl and a big mouse rushed out of it. Panicking, Damien searched for the mouse in the house, searching everywhere, but he couldn't see the mouse. In a greedy move, he put the mouse in Darian's bowl in his. The following morning, Chief Okoro returned. Damien was in fear, but he kept his composure. Chief called onto his sons and asked them to bring their golden bowls. Darian's bowl was empty, and Chief Okoro was disappointed. "Why couldn't you wait for just 3 days?" he asked. Then Damien opened his bowl, revealing the mouse. Chief Okoro was furious, but Damien didn't know what happened. Unbeknownst to them, each bowl had a unique mouse with a distinct mark. Chief Okoro questioned Damien. Immediately he went on his knees, shedding tears. He eventually confessed to knowing about the mouse. He explained how he opened his bowl and the mouse went out, and how he stole that of his brother's mouse into his bowl. Chief Okoro, despite being disappointed and heartbroken, was relieved that Damien had learned a lesson. They shared a warm hug and encouraged him to be the best version of himself. He willed most of his properties to Damien, saying, "Wealth is not about inheriting riches, but also about character and integrity." Damien apologized to his brother and promised to take good care of himself. Chief Okoro smiled, knowing his sons had learned a valuable lesson. From that day on, Damien managed the family's business with wisdom and kindness, while Damien learned from his mistakes and became a better person. Unknown to Damien, his father already had a better plan for him. After weeks and months of monitoring his behavior, his father made it known to him that he had some hidden properties which he secretly kept from both of them, and to be given to him when he sincerely repents. Chief willed all those properties to him, and that was the most happiest day of their lives. The story spread throughout the land, teaching people that true wealth lies in character, obedience, and integrity. Thank you for watching. Please take a moment to like, comment, subscribe, and share our stories. It goes a long way to help us.